I found out on a Tuesday night in February, not through a confession, not through a confrontation, not through a friend who saw something they felt obligated to tell me. I found out the way I find out everything that does not add up. Through a number that was in the wrong place. I am a financial auditor. I have spent 16 years looking at numbers that behave incorrectly. A figure that is 1 digit off. A transaction that posts to the wrong account. A charge that appears in a category where it has no logical reason to be. Most people look at a spreadsheet and see data. I look at a spreadsheet and see behavior. And behavior, in my experience, never lies. It was a Tuesday night. Daniel was in the other room watching television. I was at the kitchen table reviewing our household budget on my laptop the way I do every month, methodically, column by column, category by category. I got to the travel and accommodation section. I saw a charge for $3,400 at a hotel called the Whitmore in Charleston, South Carolina. We had not been to Charleston. Not in February, not together, not ever. I did not close the laptop. I did not go into the other room and ask Daniel about it. I sat very still and I followed the thread. I am good at following threads. It is the only thing I am genuinely exceptional at. Over the next 4 hours, while Daniel watched television 20 feet away from me, I followed that thread through 14 months of bank statements, credit card records, and shared calendar entries. What I found was not a single charge. It was a pattern. A hotel in Charleston in February, a jewelry store in Atlanta. In April, charging $2,200, a short-term rental apartment 40 minutes. From our house beginning in June, renewed monthly, currently active. Charges I had processed as business expenses without scrutinizing them because I had trusted the person who made them. By midnight, I had built a complete picture. By midnight, I understood that my husband had been maintaining a second life for approximately 14 months. And by midnight, I had made a decision about what I was going to do about it. I closed the laptop. I went to bed. I said goodnight to Daniel the same way I always did. He said goodnight back. He had no idea that anything had changed. Everything had changed. My husband's name is Daniel. We had been married for 11 years. In those 11 years, I had done the following things for our financial life. Managed every household account, filed every tax return, negotiated our mortgage rate down by a full percentage, point by preparing a 30-page financial analysis for the bank, and built the joint savings account that now held $340,000, the product of 11 years of 2 salaries, disciplined saving, and the proceeds from the sale of our first home 2 years earlier. Daniel was a sales manager at a medical equipment company. He earned a good salary. He spent freely and saved rarely and had always relied on me to ensure that our financial life was structured and protected. He had relied on me so completely and for so long that I think he had forgotten I was the one doing it. He had come to experience our financial security the way you experience a floor. You walk on it every day without thinking about it, without wondering who built it or what it is made of or what would happen if someone removed it. He had been spending our floor on another life for 14 months while I sat at the kitchen table every month and kept our actual life in order. The specific humiliation of that is something I want you to understand. It was not just the betrayal. It was the geometry of it. He was spending the money I managed on a life I did not know about. And every month when I sat down to review our accounts, I was unknowingly auditing the evidence of my own humiliation and filing it neatly away. I am a financial auditor. I audit things for a living. And for 14 months, I had been auditing my own betrayal without knowing what I was reading. That is the part that kept me awake on Tuesday night. Not the anger. The geometry. On Wednesday morning, I did 2 things before Daniel woke up. The first thing I did was call my office and tell them I would be working from home. The second thing I did was call a family law attorney named Patricia, whose name I had been given 3 weeks earlier by a colleague whose own divorce I had watched proceed with unusual efficiency. I had saved Patricia's number in my phone under a different name. I had done that 3 weeks earlier, which tells you something about what I had already suspected, before Tuesday night confirmed it. Patricia picked up at 7:45 a.m. I told her I needed an urgent consultation. She had a cancellation at 10 a.m. I was in her office at 9:58. Patricia and I met on Wednesday, day 1 of what I privately called the documentation period. In our first meeting, she explained one thing to me that changed the entire shape of what followed. She told me that in our state, marital assets transferred more than 30 days before a divorce. Filing are substantially harder to contest in proceedings than assets transferred after filing. She told me that assets moved into individually titled accounts, particularly those tied to legitimate financial instruments and documented as protective measures against a spouse's known Financial misconduct were the most defensible category of asset protection available to me. She told me I had a window. And she told me that the window required two things: speed and documentation. I had spent 16 years building both of those skills professionally. Over the 19 days that followed our first meeting, Patricia and I structured 3 transfers from the joint account. The first transfer happened on day 3. I moved $180,000 into an individually titled investment account in my name only. The transfer was documented with a written record stating it was a protective measure following discovery of a spouse's financial misconduct. Patricia filed a supporting memo the same day. The second transfer happened on day 11. I moved $80,000 into a short-term treasury ladder in my name. Again documented. Again filed. Every decision time-stamped. Every record clean. The third transfer happened on day 19. I moved $50,000 into a retainer account with Patricia's firm. This covered legal fees for the proceedings I knew were coming and simultaneously removed the funds from joint access. Total moved $310,000 over 19 days. All documented, all clean. I left $30,000 in the joint account deliberately. Patricia's instruction. She said, "Leave enough that a casual glance at the balance looks normal. Do not empty it. Leave $30,000 and let him believe nothing has changed." I left $30,000 and I waited. On day 23 at 2:14 p.m. on a Thursday, I received an automated alert on my phone from our bank. A transfer of $30,000 has been initiated from your joint checking account. I was sitting at my desk at work when the alert arrived. I read it. I set my phone face down on the desk. I finished the paragraph I was writing. Then I picked my phone back up and I called Patricia. I said, "He moved the $30,000. She said, "When?" I said, 2:14 this afternoon. She said, "He is going to file within the week." "Are you ready?" I said, "I have been ready since day 1. Daniel served me with divorce papers on Friday, day 25. I came home from work to find them on the kitchen counter, a white envelope with the name of a law firm I did not recognize in the return address corner. I picked it up. I opened it. I read the petition. It listed our joint assets: the house, 2 vehicles, the joint investment account, and the rental property we had purchased together 18 months earlier. The joint account balance listed in the petition was $340,000. Daniel's attorney had pulled the original account balance. He had not yet seen the current balance. He did not know about the 19 days. He did not know about the 3 transfers. He had built his entire asset division strategy around a number that no longer existed. I set the papers on the kitchen counter. I went upstairs. I packed a bag for Daniel, his clothes, his toiletries, the things on his nightstand. I left the bag by the front door. Then I called Patricia. She said, "Monday morning, my office. 10 a.m., bring the documentation file." Daniel came home at 7 p.m. He saw the bag by the front door. He looked at me. I said nothing. He picked up the bag. He left. The door clicked shut behind him. That was the last time Daniel slept in our house. Monday morning, day 27, Patricia's office. Daniel's attorney was a man named Clifford. He arrived at 10:05 a.m. with a leather folder, a printed asset division proposal, and the particular confidence of someone who believes he has already won. He had a strategy built on $340,000 and 11 years of marriage, and what he believed was a straightforward, equitable division case. Patricia slid our financial disclosure across the conference table. Clifford opened it. He turned to the asset summary page. He looked at the joint account balance. He looked at the transfer records. He looked at the dates. He looked at the total in my individually titled accounts. He turned back to the joint account balance. He looked at the dates again. Then he closed his folder. He did not say anything for approximately 8 seconds. Then he said, "I need to make a phone call." He excused himself. He went into the hallway. Through the glass partition, I watched him dial. The call lasted 4 minutes. When Clifford came back into the room, his expression had changed in the specific way that expressions change when someone has just been told that the foundation of their case does not exist. He sat down. He said, "We may need to revisit the timeline of this meeting." Patricia said, "Take whatever time you need, Clifford." He took 6 weeks. 6 weeks during which his legal team attempted 3 different challenges to the transfers. Every challenge failed. Patricia had documented every decision with the precision of someone who had spent 16 years building airtight records. Every timestamp was clean. Every memo was filed. Every transfer was legitimate and protected. Clifford's third challenge was denied on a Thursday afternoon. He called Patricia that evening and indicated his client wished to proceed toward settlement. The proceedings concluded 7 months. After Daniel found that bag by the front door, Daniel received his equitable share of the $30,000. He had moved on day 23, documented as an unauthorized transfer of marital funds and subject to offset in the settlement. He received his personal vehicle. He received his personal belongings. He received nothing from the $310,000 I had moved during the 19 days. Nothing from the investment account. Nothing from the treasury ladder. Nothing from the retainer. Funds which had been fully applied to legal fees by the time the proceedings concluded. The rental property presented the most complex element of the settlement. Patricia's analysis showed it had been purchased 18 months earlier using equity drawn from the sale of our first home, a home whose down payment I had funded entirely from my pre-marriage savings. That documentation traced the rental property's origin to an asset that was mine before our marriage began. Clifford contested this for 3 weeks. He stopped contesting it on a Tuesday when Patricia produced the original pre-marriage savings records, the home purchase documents, and a 12-page financial lineage analysis. I had prepared myself over a weekend in April. The rental property remained with me. Daniel moved into an apartment across town. I learned from a mutual friend 3 months after the settlement that the woman from Charleston had ended things shortly after the divorce proceedings became financially complicated. Apparently the lifestyle Daniel had been funding was contingent on resources he no longer had access to. I did not feel satisfaction when I heard that. I felt something quieter. The feeling of a system that has been running incorrectly for a long time, finally returning to its correct state. I still sit at the kitchen table every month and review the accounts. The table is the same. The laptop is the same. The method is the same. Column by column, category by category, following every number to where it actually belongs. The difference is that every number now belongs exactly where I put it, and nobody is moving them while I am not looking.